Hello friends, hi, this is Ganesh Naik. A lot of students are preparing for the CFA exam, but when they are preparing for the CFA exam, they are not paying much attention to the actual exam. So in this video, we're going to be talking about a detailed analysis of the CFA exam result, and we're going to be talking about each section of it so that you as a student would be able to understand it much better and understand your areas of improvement when you see the result and where your areas of weakness when you get the result in your hand. So let us start with detailed analysis. The first thing that we're going to be focusing on is the sample result, and in this result you will find that this section which represents the minimum passing score and your score. So over here the thin grey line represents the MPS, which is the minimum passing score, and this dark grey line represents your score. So if your score is above the MPS, then you have passed the exam, or if your score is below the MPS, that means you have failed the exam. The second thing that I want you to understand from the result is your true ability. So when you look at your score is impacted by so many factors. Now we want, or a CFA institute want, to understand that what is your true ability when you are giving the exam. So those factors which can be favorable, which can be unfavorable, has to be analyzed. If the institute gives you unlimited number of questions in an ideal situation, then only they'll be able to identify your true sense. But over here, they want to give you a range in which your performance would actually lie. So look at this graph. This blue area represents the range of your performance under favorable and unfavorable situations. Now, what are these favorable factors and unfavorable factors? Favorable factor could be you had a very good night's sleep before the exam, you were lucky for the actual exam date, and the testing environment was very comfortable for you. But when we talk about unfavorable factors, then there can be many. For example, you didn't get the proper sleep in the exam, you tried guessing out the question on the actual day, but you went unlucky, or you had a fever, you were not prepared one day before the exam because of some XYZ reason. So all of these are unfavorable factors, which can make sure that your exam result can go down. So this blue graph tells you the overall range of your performance in the actual exam. The third thing that the institute wants you to understand from your result is the confidence interval. The same blue box, now if you put it right with your actual exam performance, this blue box represents the 90% confidence interval. It gives you the range of where your performance could have gone. Let us understand the confidence interval in much better. Now over here I'll give you three different scenarios. The first one, look at this graph. In this case you see that the minimum passing score is over here and the actual performance is way higher, and the range is also way higher above the minimum score. In this case, even if you would have performed bad because of some unfavorable situations or factor, you would have still cleared the exam in most of the cases. That is what this section highlights. Look at this second situation where in the diagram we can see that there is a minimum passing score and the student has performed, his score is below the passing score with a confidence range. Now when you look at the performance of this student, you can easily understand that even if the student would have performed in the exam with some favorable factors around him, he still would not have been able to clear the exam because his range is well below the minimum passing percentage. Now look at the third situation that is there on the screen. Now over here what is happening? The minimum passing score is over here and the student's performance is exactly very close to the minimum passing percentage. Now if you look closely to the blue range or the confidence interval, this highlights that in some cases the student would have passed when he would have had all the favorable factors in his exam. And majority of the cases he would have failed because the range is taking him below the minimum passing score. So that is why the student has failed in this exam. So I hope these three examples will help you to understand that how confidence interval is depicted in your exam. The next point is performance relative to others. So over here institute has given you two benchmarks to compare yourself. One is a 90 percentile benchmark and then is a 10 percentile benchmark. If you look at this dashed line, this is the 90 percentile range. Okay, if you're above this line, that means you're in the top 10% of all the students who appeared for the exam. Now look at the second line, which is the black dashed line. In this case, this is the minimum 10 percentile range. If you're below this 10 percentile range, that means if you are in the least 10% of the students who appeared for the exam. Next thing that the exam result want you to understand, that what is your mastery for each topic in the exam. However, there is no single cutoff or there is no number or minimum passing for each book, but the institute gives you some broad idea of what was your performance. So over here you will find two black lines which represents whether you were at 50% or above in a particular book or whether you were above 70%. Now these lines are slightly arbitrary, but what the institute is telling you is that if you're above or closer to 70%, that means you have a good mastery on the subject. How this each topic wise bifurcation helps you? Because suppose if you could not clear a particular CFA exam and you want to do a detailed analysis, then these topic wise bifurcation can be very good source for you to understand which subject you are above 50% or above 70% or which subject you are below it. So it gives you a good idea to plan your next attempt properly and to focus on those key areas. So this has been your overall analysis of the CFA exams result. There are certain important sections which you should definitely focus on and try to understand it as early as possible. So I hope you like this video. You got a detailed understanding of what is happening in your exam result and can help you to plan your exam better. For more such videos, do subscribe to our channel and like this video.